Agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I have a question. Normally we have our PR lady with us. She is what we call the filter that has no filter. She kind of keeps us in line from time to time.
Sure.
Keeps us on track mostly. Mm-hmm. But she had a family thing she had to do this evening. So, but she has a question she normally asks that basically, during the whole pandemic, we were all pretty much not allowed to do anything. Mm-hmm. What during that time did you do for your craft? For music, for yourself personally? Did you go maybe, learn how to play a new instrument or how to market yourself better? Was there anything that you did during that time? Because you really couldn't do any shows live or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. We ended up being very productive. Just before the pandemic had happened, we had actually scheduled studio time to go back in the studio and record 4 new songs. And then the pandemic hit, and, we were all stuck and not able to see each other in person and whatnot. So I came up with the idea that, okay, well, since we've got this time, let's prepare to go into the studio, and kind of redeveloped our entire creative process as far as recording goes. And everybody has home studios these days, so each of us has a 1 or 2 track recorder. So I started, normally when we write songs as a band, what we do is we play them live a bunch of times, and then over time the song develops. Every time you play it, it develops a little more, and then you go into the studio and you basically just perform it live like you've been doing on stage. Right. This time around, we couldn't do that, so we made demos, and it ended up being a great new kind of addition to the overall creative process. So, I would record my rhythm guitar track to a click, record my vocals, I would send it over to the drummer, he would lay his drum tracks down, send it back, I would send it to the bass player, and then I would send it to the guitar player / harmonica player. He would add his bits, and then the bass player would sing. So we would build these really, really rich demos with the intent of then taking them into the studio, and it gave us a chance to really craft the songs in a way that we hadn't done before, because we didn't have the time. And I'm already feeling it now. I've got a gig next week, and I find, I got the gigs, but you're always kind of getting ready for the gigs or rehearsing, so you don't have as much time to be creative. So we actually had a lot of time to be creative, which was kind of nice. So we developed really great demos, and then some of those demos were so good that instead of going into the studio with them, we just took what we had and had them professionally mixed, and we ended up releasing those. So we released 4 songs during the pandemic period, and then immediately went into the studio as soon as things cleared up, and then those other 4 songs that we had developed, they were in such good shape. We went into the studio, just knocked them all out in a day.
So maybe kind of makes you think in the back of your mind is maybe every couple of years you take a little, not obviously not that long, but take you a little time for you guys and kind of dig more into it like you guys did there. It makes you maybe we should do that again and get those creative juices flowing again that way.
Yeah, and to an extent we're doing that now. So I do have a CD coming out in June, which is kind of a compilation of all the singles that we've released. But we're already working on our next album, and we're using that same process. We're building basically really the best possible demos that we can, with the intent that probably some of them will end up being final products. Some songs lend themselves well to a live off the floor performance. So we may still go into the studio and record, after we've done the demos, we'll assess, are these good as they are, or do they need a live performance behind them? But we've also come up with some ideas to make even this kind of piecemeal demo building process to make it sound a bit more organic. So, a lot of what I do in the studio is the songs that we release are live performances, because we as a band, we really believe that energy, that push and pull, that fluidity of time needs to be there.
Right.
So we really try to record live. But we've also recorded some interesting stuff using this other method, playing to a click and whatnot. That allows you to get a little more kind of compositional. There's things that you can do in a live setting, but there's things that you can do in a not live setting, in a piecemeal setting.
Yeah.
That allow you to get a little more psychedelic and add, interesting instruments and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So coming out of the pandemic, then, have you noticed that your has business picked up where it kind of left off? Has you been able to be booked more or less, or how is do people seem interested in actually getting back out? Post the whole pandemic.
I think it's slowed down. It has slowed down, and I think we all believed and hoped that when they lifted the curtain or when they lifted the gates, everybody would flood back into the bars, but that hasn't been the case. I think everybody's a little bit scarred, and I think people are holding back. The bars are open, bands are active, they're booking bands, but it's more competitive than it was before. It feels like, it's not as vibrant as it was before.
I think what I've seen personally is during that, there was a lot of the people that didn't have time to pursue a passion like music. They were, doing their 9 to 5 at work. Now they didn't have to, so they started something like a band. Started playing music, and now you're competing with your normal people you were, plus the thousands that were created because of the pandemic.
Honestly, the music industry, society, everything, even without the pandemic, the things have morphed. And, if you look at the last 20 years, go to your local pub today versus 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I bet you there was more people in the pub 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Right? Or even 10 years ago. So, there's been, and you can blame that. I guess I blame it on technology. I'm starting to sound like an old man, but part of it is, you look at your average home now, you've got a 42-inch screen TV, you got a hi-fi stereo system, you've got access to every movie and song that's ever been made on the internet. The need to leave your house to be entertained is not as great as it once was.
That's very true.
Right? So, people are still doing it.
What is the old saying? The internet killed television or something? I don't remember how it goes now.
Video killed the radio star.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it goes. The video killed the dad. There it is.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me to, you started to touch on the radio or the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
I got a hypothetical question because I know there's nothing that the three of us cannot change about it. But hypothetically, if there was something you could change or a few things you could change about the music industry, what would they be?
Honestly, I wish the price of beer would go down. I wish rents for bars would go down. I wish bar owners would have a bit more free cash and more customers, and were making more money so that they could bring bands in and pay them properly. Because, it's you can sit there and complain, the bar owners aren't paying enough. Well, it's because they're not earning enough, right? So the whole value chain, I think, is a little bit broken. And again, a lot of things have changed. Things are more expensive. Things post-pandemic are much more expensive. So now, even going out to a bar, I just wish everybody had a bit more money. There was more money to go around. I wish everybody had a bit more disposable income. In terms of the music industry, I don't have any complaints about the music industry. I think it's changed and morphed as it should. It's definitely, and you kind of hinted at this, it's a lot easier to get in now. Before, if you wanted to record a record, well, you needed to book studio time at a couple of $100 an hour. And now technology, you can go out and buy a device. And I mean, it's, anybody can put a record out. Whether it's good or not, well, that's the question. I think the other thing that's maybe frustrating for an artist like me is I feel like I put out pretty good quality music. Mm-hmm. But is it getting heard? And how do I get it heard? And on one hand, I can't complain because, hey, if it was the 1980s, I would never have put any of these records out because you'd need a record deal. And so on one hand, this is the age of the independent artist. But being an independent artist, I think also means you're not flying in your own private jet with Led Zeppelin on the side, and you're not, you don't got your Iron Maiden 747 that you got to fly from gig to gig. Right. It means, you go out and you sing your songs and you record, and I'm able to be very prolific. I'm able to put out, albums every couple of years, and I'm grateful for that. I wish more people would hear them. But,
getting into this, when you started doing all this, the music, I got a 2-part question for you. Was there any advice that you were given that kind of stuck with you throughout this? And the second part to that is, if there's any advice you could give to a newcomer, what would it be?
Yeah, and it was the advice that I would give is the exact advice that was given to me by a guy that I greatly admire. And he said, it's a lot more fun playing a small room that's full than a big room that's empty.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Yeah. And let me break it down a little bit. I think it's really, everybody wants to, I think we have a bit of a bucket list mentality in today's society. So everybody wants to say, okay, I want to play the Hard Rock Cafe. I want to play this bar. I want to play that bar. I want to play this stage. I want to play in front of X number of people. But, is it meaningful? Again, you play into an empty room, or sometimes you play these festivals and you're playing a bunch of people, but they're not even looking at you. Right? Play a small room. And then when you fill that room and you can't fit another person in it and it's just getting ridiculous and you're playing every Thursday and the place is rammed and packed, then start booking bigger venues.
Yeah.
Fill the small rooms first. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, you got anything?
Not really. That's definitely a really smart piece of advice, though.
Yeah, definitely. So, we're about out of our time here. We try to keep it short.
Sure, yeah.
The attention span of it kind of goes on the podcast kind of goes along the same lines of a single. You got an attention span. If you go too long, people kind of tune you out. So kind of falls along that line.
Yeah.
So if Junior doesn't have anything, I'm going to ask you one last question then. And you can answer this however you want. We open the floor up for this question. If there was any one thing or anything that you would want to say to your fans out there, what would it be? Anything, it could be anything you want.
I would just say, in relation to the Eric and the Sue stuff, these songs are made with a lot of love. The way we approach making music is we write and record songs that we think we would like to listen to. And we hope that other people would like them too. And we put a lot of we stay true to ourselves, but we also put a lot of effort into making sure the songs are accessible and I would say consumable by our listening audience. So, these are not songs that are put together without care. A lot of care goes into crafting these songs. We love making the music. We love every aspect of making music, and it would make us as a band even happier if you guys would love it too.
Right. I understand that. Well, I know here at Adrenaline, and because we have a parent company that we own, Junior and I own, that it has it has 2 radio stations, and it has the podcast, and it has an advertising company under it as well with branding and all that stuff. I know that when we go to list I think we did it with you. When we put stuff onto the radio, we thought